أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Dear mothers, sisters, scholars, lady scholars, visitors to the Hawza, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So Mubarakis and felicitations to all of you on the wilada of our ninth Holy Imam, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. I was just going through his history. He became an Imam at the age of 8 and he passed away at the age of 25. So childhood, teenage years, youth. So Ayatollah Khamenei terms him or calls him a role model for the youth. You see his life and he becomes a direct role model for the youth. So just one hadith to get us going and then we'll come to our topic inshallah. So the ninth Holy Imam says in this hadith, he says, Ni'matun la tushkar ka sayyi'atin la tughfar. The Arabic was too sweet, so I couldn't leave it out. He says, a blessing that is not thanked for is like a sin that is not forgiven. So we commit so many sins and we wait for the nights of Qadr or the times of Salatul Layl or during the day whereby we ask for istighfar. Similarly, there are so many blessings that we have not thanked for. We have not thanked Allah for. અને એ એક જાતનું કરજો રહી જાય છે. ખુદાએ કંઈ નેમત આપ્યું હોય ને અમે એનું શુક્ર ના કરે, એક જાતનું કરજો છે. જેમ ગુનાહ રહી જાય છે મગફિરત વગર, તેમ નેમત પણ રહી જશે શુક્ર વગર. તો નિዕમતુન લા તુશ્કર કસૈયતિન લા તુગફર. તો શુક્ર કરવાની બહુ જ જરૂર છે. આ મહિનો ખુદાએ મેં નસીબ કર્યું છે. He's blessed us with this month to be alive, to be healthy, to be able to do the amals and feel the spiritual blessings that are around. Definitely requires thankfulness. Alhamdulillah min awwalid dunya ila fana'iha wa min al-akhirati ila baqa'iha. Alhamdulillah ala kulli ni'ma wa astaghfirullah min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayk. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. So the topic is a daily obstacle course. My daughter designed this PowerPoint presentation for me, so she gave me away spiritual obstacle course, but we'll come to this later on. But a daily obstacle course. Obstacle course, in simple words, it's basically a course. So you could have a golf course and an open field or indoors. So it's a course that has been designed. You have also come for a course here in Maz. So it's a set of obstacles placed, man-made obstacles placed, and children, teenagers, adults are made to go through those obstacles for a purpose, and they are timed. They are given a time. So if you see the definition, the time factor has been mentioned. Going through the obstacles for a specific purpose in a given time. So that is what an obstacle course is. So let me take you back to my childhood days. I was brought up in Arusha. And Arusha, as you all know, is very green, mountainous, and a lot of places for trekking, picnics, riversides. So the community in Arusha was very vibrant. And they had a lot of activities, at least in my childhood, for the youths, for the children. And they organized an obstacle course. It was called a commando trail. This is in my childhood. So it was organized in Malalua farm. Malalua farm was outside Arusha and it belonged to Akbar Rajpar, Kekibai's brother. beautiful farm. So that is where the elders had organized an obstacle course, a commando trail. So we had to go there, we had to climb up with our obstacles placed, we had to crawl, jump into the river, walk in the mud. We were all bruised. And then we had another one in Arusha school, the famous Arusha primary school by the riverside, another obstacle course. That time as kids, we thought it was a pastime, a fun activity. But now when I look back, we see the value of that course. And generally so many benefits. One way, it was one way of uniting the community, at least the gents. We did not see ladies there, but the gents all came together to see their children. Some just came to see the course. So it was a source of, or it was an opportunity for people to unite. First benefit. Second, interaction of the youths or of the children with nature. One-to-one, rubbing shoulders with nature. Very beneficial, highly recommended in Islam, especially greenery. Very good for the heart. And this is something that is really lacking in our kids just now. After coming in of the phones and the gadgets and TVs and satellites and the internet, kids find the screen to be more stimulating than nature outside. If you were to give them a choice, they would definitely choose the screen compared to nature. But rubbing shoulders with nature, very beneficial. Obstacle course, again, strength and balance. So when kids go through obstacle courses, it builds up their strength because it's challenging. It also builds up their balance. Memory, problem solving. So when you're taken through an obstacle course, usually you have to go through it once or twice, and that builds up your memory because now you have to make up on your time. You do it in a certain minutes. The next course has to be done in a time shorter than that. So it builds up your memory. You know where the obstacles are, how you're going to go around. Problem solving. Sensory processing, very important. So when you get hurt, you are bruised, and in the cold weather of Arusha, so your sensory organs are all stimulated. Eyesight, skin, it's all stimulated and sent to the brain. So sensory stimulation. Motor skills. Motor skills is now the brain coordinates with the organs of the body. So this is the purpose of an obstacle course, as and when a person is put through it. So the brain also learns how to coordinate with the organs of the body. Coordination of different parts of the body with each other. Coordination of the eye with the upper limb, with the lower limb. So this is an obstacle course. There's another benefit. There's a book by the name of Stolen Focus. Stolen Focus by Johann Hari. So he has mentioned almost 12 reasons as to why we have lost the capacity to focus in our life. Older generation, when we would go with our parents for majlis, for example, we could sit there for an hour and a half long majlis without moving. That was our level of focus. We could sit, and we could sit in front of a screen, for example. Even if the movie was boring, we would not say a single thing, just sit there, do something. We had the capacity to play for hours. That focus has left us, adults, especially children. So now you're told don't keep a lecture longer than 19 minutes or 20 minutes because youths lose focus. They don't have the capacity to focus. So he's written a whole book, Stolen Focus. He's given 12 reasons. So the last reason he says, it's because our children, we have confined our children too much, physically and psychologically. We don't let our children play, unsupervised play, outdoor play, interaction with nature. So if you see our childhood, we used to play outside, different sports, holidays, there were no screens at that time, unsupervised sports. We were not confined, we would move around with friends, go to playgrounds, unsupervised. So that increased our capacity to focus. One of the solutions that he's giving is don't overprotect your children. Let them out, let them play, encourage them to play. It increases their capacity to focus. Obstacle course, again, another benefit. In one of my trips to Iran, 2017, I went as a student of Babu Rida, the short course that they have in December. So they have excursions. One of the excursions when we were in Mashhad, in the haram of Imam Rida alayhi salam, in the basement, the youths had organized an obstacle course for the kids. But it was an obstacle course with the purpose of learning. So there was one obstacle course when kids had to walk on blocks. There were big foam blocks, gadlana blocks hata. And એના ઉપર ઠેકરા મારીને ચાલવાનું as if they are rocks on a river. So the kids had to cross from one end of the room to the other, and there were several blocks that were placed. So the obstacle was just go on the foam, on the pieces of gadla which were standing. But some of them were very firm and some of them were loose. So if the kid was to put their foot on a loose gadlo, they would either have to withdraw, or if they were very fast, they would fall. But then what they had done was, on each and every gadlo, on each and every mattress, they had written a relationship. So for example, mother, sister, maternal aunt, paternal aunt, a stranger, first cousin. So the whole idea was to teach the child relations, mahram and na-mahram. So the mahram relations are all firm. So the child, if the child stepped on a firm mattress that was a mahram relationship, they would be able to cross and progress. But if they were to go on a loose relationship, so a stranger, a first cousin, a second cousin, a friend in school, that was a loose gadlo. If they were to step on it, they would slip, they would either fall or they would have to withdraw. So telling the child, be careful. When you're out there, take care of your mahram and non-mahram relationships. An obstacle course, but with a lesson. So if you've got this idea in your mind, what is an obstacle course? So it's man-made, it is designed, but with a purpose, and you have timing. So you have to do it in the minimum time possible. So this is an outdoor or an indoor physical obstacle course. But now this template, that the one that we do in childhood, now that template as we grow up is given a different name now. So for example, when you go to a gym is nothing but an obstacle course. You're going there, you're paying a subscription, and then you're lifting weights, hurting yourself. You go to a gym and you see people shouting, struggling, sweating. They've paid money for it. It's an obstacle course. They have to lift those weights or run. But when you ask them, why are you doing this? There's a purpose. Say we want to improve our cardiovascular system, we want to improve our muscles, we want to improve our strength. Very few come for pastime there in a gymnasium. So that is one model. Military training. So when people are being trained to join the army, they have to be sent through an obstacle course. So that's the same as in childhood, but more harsh, just to duplicate what they're going to go through on the battlefield. Outward bound course. Outward bound course, youths had gone from Dar es Salaam long back. It hasn't happened for a long time. So they're sent out for 2 weeks. Loitokitok, for example, on the border of Tanzania and Kenya. And for 2 weeks, they're put through rigorous obstacles. That is solo. They have to stay in the jungle for 3 days alone. And they're given minimum supplies just to teach them survival skills. Or jumping from an elevation. And the last is climbing Kilimanjaro. It's on the foots of Kilimanjaro. So the last part of training is climbing Kilimanjaro. So an obstacle course, but it builds up leadership in them, teamwork, strength, survival skills. So that is also a template of an obstacle course. So this is as far as physical obstacle course is concerned. But then you have a mental obstacle course. mental stimulation. So Sudoku, I don't know how many of you have done Sudoku here. It comes in the newspaper. The elderly are encouraged, buy a Sudoku book and do it. So it's a mental sum, arrangement of numbers in a certain way, and their levels, level 1, level 2, and it keeps the old elderly people, their mental capacity alive, even for youths. Crossword puzzles, so arranging words, you have questions, that is a mental obstacle course. Word search, mental timetables. When we were in school, 1 to 9 mathematical tables, up to 9. Older than that, Zanzibar, if you ask them, they were told up to 14 or 15 they were given, 15 timetables. So 15 times 1 until 15 times 9, they had to memorize it. Important, vital. I was shocked 2 days back. My son, 9-year-old, he's in grade 5, he's been told, bring a calculator to school. He's in grade 5 and he's been told, bring a calculator for your paper 2 maths exam. I went through A levels using a 4-figure table. We had the 4-figure tables. For those of you who've gone through Form 4, log, sine, cos, that was stimulation. And it was an obstacle, but through that it made us very sharp. Now, grade 5 calculators. So where are we going? What's going to happen to their mental state? We are introducing them to screens that early. Calculator is a screen. A mini version, looks very much like a phone. You want to fool a small child, you don't want to give them the phone, give them a calculator. It looks very similar, but it looks like something is happening there. There's an addiction building up. So this is mental obstacle course. But what I wanted to focus on more was the spiritual obstacle course. So all these are important. The physical, the mental, because you start with the body, you come to the mind. So a healthy body, a healthy mind will give you a healthy soul. So all these are important. Putting ourselves through these obstacles in life. So spiritual obstacle course. Allah wants to train us. He wants us to develop spiritually. So Jawadi Amuli terms it as a spiritual bulugh. So we have physical bulugh, ladies at the age of 9, boys between the ages of 13 to 15. That is physical bulugh. Jawadi Amuli says our purpose in life is spiritual bulugh. And he says many of us die without having attained spiritual bulugh. And God wants us to reach that level. But yet, what happens is, with the smallest of difficulty in life, we want to give up. Why is Allah doing this to me? So, these spiritual obstacles that have been placed. So, Furu'edin, for example, Salah. When we see our youths, as adults also, Salah sometimes becomes very difficult for us. Leaving worldly activities, going on the Musalla and praying. Even if you're on the Musalla, praying with concentration, a problem. We pray very fast. We find it very lengthy. Body pains. We can't sit. And we just want to finish it. Fajr is the hardest. Saum. Some people will tell you, we don't pray friendly matches. No friendly matches for us. We'll fast only in Ramadan. No mustahab fast during the year, please. Very difficult. And then Hajj, for those of you who have gone for Hajj. It's an obstacle course. Physical obstacle course, mental obstacle course, psychological obstacle course, but more importantly, a spiritual obstacle course. Similarly, khums, zakat, parting with money that we love, we've earned with our hard sweat. To part with it, it's an obstacle that we have to overcome. And then jihad. Jihadun nafs, jihad on the battlefield, never easy. going away from family, leaving children behind as and when it becomes wajib. But more importantly, the jihadul akbar. And then amr bil ma'ruf, nahi anil munkar, same thing. These are all obstacles. Going to somebody and correcting them, we fear what's going to happen. So this is one side. We can go through it. But there was one hadith which I came across, and this, when I thought of this obstacle course, and that's the hadith that I want to discuss. But because it was the wilad of our 9th Holy Imam, this morning I came across this hadith of the 9th Imam, which was not my topic of discussion, but I thought we should discuss it as a tabarruk for this day, because it also talks about an obstacle. So the Imam says, Inna la nanalu mahabbat Allahi illa bi bughdi kathirin minan nas. Indeed, we do not find access, the Imams, we have not found access to the love of Allah except by facing the enmity of a lot of people. So not everybody will love you. Not everybody will love you. There is both the crisis that is going on just now in social media. We've seen it. Or the both around the world against the Shias. But even on a personal level. So સાસુ તમારી વખાણ કરે તમે ખુદા યાદ નહીં આવે. સાસુ વહુના વખાણ કરે એની સામે એને કોઈ દિવસ ખુદા યાદ નહીં આવે. ઉલટાનું પ્રાઉડ ફિલિંગ આવે કે ના મારી કોશિશ છે. પણ સાસુ ખારી થાય વહુ ઉપર ત્યારે ખુદા બહુ યાદ આવે. બોગ્ધ, એને બોગ્ધ નથી. સાસુ તમે કહેશે તું મારી દીકરી જેવી છો, હું નહીં કહું તો કોણ કહેશે તને. પણ વહુને ખરાબ લાગે અને ત્યારે ખુદા બહુ યાદ, હું કરું છું ખુદા વાસ્તે કરું છું બસ, ત્યારે ખુદા બહુ યાદ આવે. પણ વખાણે ત્યારે ખુદા યાદ ના આવે. તો ફીલ વેરી હેપી, ઓહ હું કાંઈ કરી, પ્રાઇડ. ધીસ જસ્ટ એન એક્ઝામ્પલ. અમે ભાઈ માણસો પણ એવા જ છે. જમાતનું કામ કરતા હોય, જ્યારે માણસો વખાણે ત્યારે વાહ વાહ હું કાંઈ કર્યું. પણ જ્યારે ક્રિટિસિઝમ આવે ત્યારે ખુદા બહુ યાદ આવે. ના હું ખુદા વાસ્તે કામ કરું છું, ભલે બોલે જે બોલવું હેલા કરે, ત્યારે ખુદા બહુ યાદ આવે. આ જ છે કે we do not find the love of Allah except by facing the enmity of a lot of people. This is also an obstacle. બધાને ખુશ નહીં રાખી શકશું. જે લોકો ખુશ થયા, બાકી બીજા હશે જે લોકોને બુગ્ધ હશે, થોડુંક કીનો હશે દિલમાં. But through them, that's an obstacle. It's an obstacle course, a spiritual obstacle course. તમે એક સાથે રહ્યો, you can find Allah. એક ખુદા તમે opportunity આપે છે. Go through the obstacle and attain spiritual bulugh. So this was a hadith, but this was not the point of discussion. The hadith that I wanted to discuss was this one here. This was narrated by Ayatollah Khamenei. This hadith is narrated by Ayatollah Khamenei. So before his class, he has this habit of presenting one hadith as a tabarruk, and these are recorded. So it's just 2-3 minutes, maximum 5 minutes. And when I saw this hadith, that's how this whole idea came in of an obstacle course. So we'll go through the hadith. The hadith says, An Abi Abdillahi alayhi salam. So the hadith is from the 6th Imam. قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله صلى الله عليه وآله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد يتعوذ في كل يوم من 6 خصال من الشك والشرك والحمية والغضب والبغي والحسد. तो छठा इमामनी hadith છે, hadith from the 6th Imam, but talking about the Prophet. The Prophet would make an effort on a daily basis to stay away from these 6 habits. to stay away from these 6 obstacles. This was the Prophet's daily spiritual obstacle course. And the beauty about this is these are normal things that we face as humans. The 6 things that have been mentioned: shak, shirk, bigotry, anger, rebelliousness, and jealousy. Nobody likes them, but being humans, we come across this. Who doesn't have shak? Can anybody raise their hand? They've never had shak in their life. Never. Impossible. Shirk. Yes, we have not stood in front of idols ever. Alhamdulillah. But the hidden shirk, when we do things for other than Allah. Bigotry, bias, favorism. We live in an environment where we are Indians and we live in an African majority area, and our servants at home, our helpers at home are Africans, and it builds up that bias. Not only that, but we'll go through them one by one. So shak, Ayatollah Khamenei says the reason for shak, for doubt, is 2. One is ignorance. When we don't have enough of knowledge, shak will always come in. 1. Secondly, it's penetration of shaitan into the soul. Waswasu. So Surah Nas, we mention the name of Allah 3 times. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas. 3 names of Allah. Against what? Min sharril waswasil khannas. In Surah Falaq, we just recite the name of Allah once. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, min sharri ma khalaq, wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab, wa min sharri naffathat. Surah Nas, 3 names of Allah against waswasa of shaitan. So if shaitan gets into our hearts and he establishes there his presence there, shak. So the hadith says doubt inhibits faith. In the presence of shak, your faith will never grow. So the very purpose of coming to Hawza here is to increase your knowledge, and as knowledge increases, shak should leave our hearts, and as a result the faith grows. So that should be our purpose of coming to Hawza. Doubt extinguishes the light of the heart. Dil nu noor ચાલ્યું જાય છે. જો દિલમાં શક હોય તો દિલનું નૂર ચાલ્યું જાય છે. Consequence of doubt is confusion. These are all hadith. So a person becomes confused. So shak is something that Prophet used to avoid, and we also have to avoid or make an effort to work around that obstacle. Secondly is shirk. Shirk, as we mentioned, polytheism. It's not idol worship. It is idol worship, but it's the hidden shirk that is a problem. We do so much during the day for other than Allah. The hidden shirk. When we riya, we think of ourselves that no, this is my effort, this is my hard-earned money, this is what I have done. So the absence of Allah in our lives is shirk. Bigotry, fanaticism, racism, apartheid, what we see the Israelis and the Arabs, or what happened in South Africa, or what's happening in our community. Ame Sara, ne eloko Sara nahi, Nai Masjid, Junni Masjid, Lindiwara, Jambarwara, Ame Jangi, ne tame Desi. This is bigotry. And then it comes to favorism. So relatives, hoy, giving priority to relatives. So you're biased in life. And it happens all the time. This is a big imtihan that we have. Living a just life. So giving you my example, If a patient walks into my practice, Doryo hoye, so I will stand up and fast, there will be panic. Doriane jaldi naak bandar. But if it's a local, pale bet hoye. Status, wealth, paisa ho hoye, jaldi. So I have to be alert. The way the Prophet was alert, bigotry. A big hurdle in our life, on a moment-to-moment basis. You walk out on the street, the hadith says if your salam is different for a rich man and a poor man, there's a problem there. Paisa waro hoy to bo sarkhindam salam karsu. Hath muksu ne enu. But garib manas hase, we'll try to avoid him. Pachi jo bhatkai gyo, to jaldi hath apine. We do this. It's a big hurdle in our life. And then anger. Anger, this is the big one. We are all victims. Sometimes we show it, sometimes it's in our heart. And the rule of the thumb is we only get angry on people who are under our authority. Always. So it will be our spouses, our children, our workers, our employees. So I was conducting a marriage seminar, the engaged couples, we were doing it, and one of the questions was, I come very tired, the boy is telling me, I come very tired back home, and then my wife starts tuck, and I can't stand it, and I lose my temper. How can I stop it? So then I asked him that who is your employer? So he gave me the name. Okay, he is your employer. Have you ever got angry on him? Have you ever got angry on your employer? Have you ever shouted at him? Have you ever lost your temper on him? He says, no, never. Why? No, he's my superior. That's where my risk comes from. Like, okay, so consider your wife as your boss now. If you consider her to be your boss at home, and if you feel that your risk from Allah is coming through her and through your children, then there's no reason to get angry. It's just that misconception. Anger. And then Baghi, Friday. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. They always finish with this verse. وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. So rebelliousness, infringement, being rebellious towards Allah, being rebellious to our parents, being rebellious with people around us, being rebellious to the truth, being rebellious to the mujtahideen, to the ulama, being rebellious to the truth when it's presented to us. Rebelliousness, baghi. And the last is hasad. Hasad, it's another thing. We usually told that ladies, it's something that affects the ladies more than the gents. I don't know if it's true. You'll forgive me if it's not true. But it's supposed to be more amongst the scholars also. There's a hadith which says jealousy is more amongst the scholars when they see each other. Hasad. So there's a beautiful hadith, and I couldn't resist talking about it and narrating it. And the hadith is from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Again, the Arabic was very sweet. So I thought I'll read out the Arabic, because you do Arabic in house also. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. He says, ما رأيت ظالما أشبه بمظلوم من الحاسد. I have not seen a zalim resembling a mazloom more than a hasid, a person who does hasad. Usually when a zalim is oppressing a madloom, you'll see the madloom mnyonge, dayaro, heartbroken. Imam Ali alayhi salam says that he's not seen a zalim resembling a madloom. He is doing dhulm, but at the same time his state is the same as the madloom. Imam says he has an exhausted spirit. نفس دائم وقلب هائم وحزن لازم. He has an exhausted spirit. Thaki gyo chhe. His exhausted spirit, his ruh is exhausted. He has a wandering heart, he cannot focus. And inherent sorrow. Gham. They're always very sad. This is a hasad. So this is a hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam. With hasad, he says, the zalim. So you're doing hasad of somebody else, but you are more madloom than him. Sometimes it doesn't even affect him, but it affects us more as a hasid. There's another hadith which says it burns faith the way fire burns wood. So hasad burns our faith the way fire burns wood. So the big question is, હું તો હસદ નથી કરતો, કોઈ દિવસ નહીં, મારા દિલમાં હસદ નથી. હસદ બીજા કરે છે, હું કોઈ દિવસ હસદ નથી કર્યો. Sometimes we fail to realize we have hasad in our hearts. It's an undiagnosed problem. So the hadith again from the 6th Imam alayhi salam, he says Luqman told his son that there are 3 signs of a jealous one. Now this is for me. Let me see if I have the symptoms. 1, he backbites people in their absence. So ghiba is a sign of a hasid. So if you are doing ghiba, it should be a warning sign. If we have ever done ghiba of somebody, making fun of somebody in their absence, we should know that there's a possibility there is a level of hasad in our. So this is first. Number 2, flatters him in his presence. When they're in front of that person, oh, motamati khan tapakto se. You know, they praise you like anything, but they wait for you to leave and they do your ghiba. If you are doing that, I'm not saying don't praise people, we have to praise, but there should be no two-heartedness there. If you're praising, we genuinely praise somebody. Even that sometimes is a problem. The hadith says don't praise a person on his face. There's a chance you might injure his faith. He might start feeling proud about himself or riya. So don't. Better to avoid. Put it diplomatically or through second party, third party, you know. And lastly, the last sign according to Luqman is he rejoices at the misery of others. Jare bija dukhi hoye, eni khushi hoye. When he hears of other people suffering in problems in life, be it financial, they feel happy. જો કોઈ પણ વખત અમારા દિલમાં એવી ખુશી આવી હોય કોઈ બીજાનું દુઃખ સાંભળીને, then we should know that there is hasad in our heart. This is something that has to be avoided. So I asked my wife in the morning today, she wanted to come. I said, don't come, I'd be very nervous if she was sitting here. So I gave her this hadith and I said, you phrase it in such a way that we put it on the screen in such a way that people remember this hadith. So fantastic, she came up with this hurdle, hatred. So we've paraphrased the words. So we have hatred, unwilling, rebellious, rage, anger, doubt, shak, love of other than him, of other than Allah, that is shirk, and hasad, envy. But the whole thing is a hurdle. We're talking about obstacles, we're talking about hurdles in life. So this is a good way to remember the 6 hurdles in our life. But now let me take you back to the hurdle course, the obstacle course. As we said, an obstacle course has got to have a purpose. It's got to have a purpose in life. Why are we doing it? So 2 things Ayatollah Khamenei mentions. He says one of the main things is taqwa. If you go through the hurdle course, the spiritual obstacle course, so the Prophet went through these 6. He was avoiding it. Why? It increased his taqwa. When we are told about taqwa, it's not only staying away from sins, but it's staying away from these 6 hurdles. And the last one, he says, if you want to understand the isma, the infallibility of the Imams and Ahlul Bayt, they kept themselves away from these 6 things. So if we want isma, infallibility in our affairs, on a day-to-day basis, we need to go through this spiritual obstacle course, especially during these three months, Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan. When we're fasting, it's easier to go through this. So with this, inshallah, may God give us the tawfiq to be able to put this into practice, inshallah, and may Allah increase our tawfiqat in these holy months, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.